systems change conversation, and one of the ways that I like to enter into it sometimes for groups is talking about something that most of us relate to, which is peak oil. So it's that when you have the rise of a system, an oil-driven economy or something like that, and it peaks and it starts to go into decline. And you can do this with any kind of a system, but this one seems to be very present for many people. That one of the conversations that I start with is sort of, what time is it, as a question. Where are we in the system that we're talking about? And you might find yourself, most of us think that, in this room, I'm going to make an assumption, most of us think that, this system is collapsing, it just can't work. It isn't working and it can't work. But you will find yourself in conversations, as I did one day at a wedding, sitting next to a liquid natural gas guy who's like, oh, no, there's no problem, there's plenty more, we don't have to change anything, we just have to go find it and it's there. So one of the conversations is good to know who you're talking to. But sometime around the peak period, you start to see that alternatives to the dominant system start to appear, as we saw in the 70s in this country with a lot of solar and a lot of investigation and play and experimentation with alternative energy. And a great story with that is, Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House roof, right? And soon after, Reagan took them off. And so what that's about is when alternatives start to appear, the system is inclined towards self-preservation, like any living system. It's inclined towards self-preservation, so it wants to crush the alternatives. It doesn't want alternatives, they threaten its existence. So this system will try to crush the alternatives, but what happens is, if these alternatives, these people pioneering a different way, start to get connected to each other, they can withstand that, and as more arise and find each other, they begin to give rise to an alternative system. And they begin to be the pathfinders and the edge walkers and the pioneer of a different, in our case, energy economy, right? And so we're in a time right now that actually is very much in transition of the pioneers finding, and we're getting, all of the different kinds of experiments and energy alternatives that are now starting to go mainstream. So it's a nice one because you don't have to get, almost any of these have a lot of debates about them which are highly political. So it's nice to find one, even this one is political, but that you really can't deny that something's going on.
Yeah.
What we talk about is, I'm going to do this part first because it's less controversial than the next one. So when people talk about what does Berkana do, like what do you guys do? I often answer this. All that Berkana does and everything that Berkana does is name, connect, nourish, and illuminate. We're naming these pioneers, connecting them to each other. Nourishing them doesn't mean we're nourishing them, it's creating the conditions in which they can nourish each other with the wisdom, the relationships, and the resources that they need, and illuminating their stories so that many others can join in and find them. That's the simplicity at the center of the mess and the chaos of our map, right? That we're all naming, connecting, nourishing, and illuminating. And now I'm just going to go to the more challenging conversation around roles. The hospicing conversation, pioneering, illuminating, and perhaps not protecting. There have been many different ways of talking about these dying systems as places that are in need of hospice. How do you provide care and compassion to those that are dying? How do you attend to, when you have an entire failing educational system in the United States, if you want to go pioneer the new, there's something worth noticing that there's a big gap between when this has any stability and robustness and can offer many people an alternative, and the decline. These deliberately don't cross. There are different paradigms, there are different worlds, and there are a whole lot of people who are going to get hurt and damaged in the process of this change. So, for example, people who are staying in our dominant school system, trying to make them less painful for those who are on the margins and falling out and getting hurt by it, we have said are doing the kind work of hospicing the new. Those who are inventing alternative learning systems like Swaraj University, who are saying, you know what, we're not inside the dominant educational system, we're inventing a new self-directed learning system, are pioneering but not ready at all to capture a whole and host the number of people that are falling out of this system. So that's hospicing and pioneering. And we also talk about illuminating here, which is making visible, as these become more robust, making visible for these folks that they can abandon this system and jump onto the new. And so where some of the conversation and debate and discovery arises is whether or not there's pioneering inside the dominant systems. Is that, so we have different ways of relating to this term. So for me, I like to say that pioneering is going on outside the system and good hospice work is happening inside. And the question of whether you believe you can transform these systems or whether you can only alleviate the pain and have to abandon and create the new is a very rich debate for us. And another piece, I'll just say a quick thing about it, and then maybe Tim might want to say more on it, is we've talked also about the role of protection, which is people who are part of the dominant system, people who may be power brokers, who know about this, and quietly protect the space in which the pioneers can do their work. So these might be our friends in government or in corporations or in institutions that may fund us or provide the space in which we can experiment.